All right, welcome to The Explainer. Let's get right into it with a pretty wild idea. What if everything you know, our whole reality, is actually happening inside a giant, self-contained electromagnetic bubble?
So the source material we're digging into today kicks things off by, throwing our most basic assumption right out the window. It poses a really simple question. Is the world a globe? Is it flat? And this is the interesting part, could there be another option entirely?
Yeah, exactly. This isn't about picking a side in the globe versus flat debate. The whole point here is to introduce a third possibility, a model that, if you think about it, completely turns our understanding of the world on its head. And here it is, the big foundational claim. The idea is that the world just isn't a globe in the way we usually think of it. We're basically being asked to just, for a minute, forget that image of the blue marble floating in space. We need a totally new framework to understand this. Okay, so if it's not a globe, then what is it? Well, the way this is explained is through a really powerful and kind of simple analogy. The idea is to imagine a bubble, like a soap bubble, but inside this bubble there's rock and water at the very bottom, and that's where we live. So in this view, we're not on a planet zipping through an endless vacuum. We're inside a finite, totally self-contained reality. Okay, so this model then puts a scientific-sounding name on this bubble. It's called an electromagnetic container, and this is where things get really, really wild. It says this huge container, our entire universe, is the same thing as a tiny subatomic particle, a neutron. It's called omega, the neutral container for literally everything. So you gotta ask, right? If we're living inside this giant neutron, how does it even work? What's making everything tick? Well, this model breaks it down into three core forces, a kind of trinity that keeps the whole thing running. And if you know a little physics, these components are gonna sound super familiar. This is basically the blueprint. You've got the neutron, that's omega, which is the container itself, the actual vessel. Then you have the proton, called beta, which is the engine, the power source. And finally, you have the electron, or alpha. Think of that as the software, the information or the guidance system for the whole shebang. Okay, get ready. Because here's where the model takes a massive leap. It's going to connect the super, super small, the subatomic world, directly to the super, super big, what we actually see when we look up at the sky. It's not a metaphor, it's a direct, one-to-one comparison. So according to this, the sun, it's not just some big ball of gas millions of miles away. No, the sun is the proton. It's the literal power source for our bubble world. And the moon? You guessed it. The moon is the electron, providing the information. They aren't just rocks in the sky. They're the actual fundamental particles, just blown up to a cosmic scale. All right, let's pull all these threads together and see what the full picture of our existence looks like in this model. So it all boils down to this really clear structure, a kind of hierarchy. Step 1, we're living inside the container, the neutron bubble. Step 2, the whole system is powered by the proton, which we see as the sun. And step 3, it's all guided by information from the electron, which we see as the moon. Container, power, information. Simple as that. And that brings us to the real mind-bending takeaway here. In this model, the subatomic and the celestial aren't just connected or similar, they are one and the same thing. The tiny particles that make up an atom and the giant objects we see in our sky are quite literally identical. The micro is the macro. So, where does that leave us? Well, it leaves us with one heck of a question, doesn't it? If our entire existence really is playing out inside a self-contained electromagnetic bubble, then what in the world is on the outside? That's definitely something to chew on.